The galaxy had always been vast and mysterious, a place where stars twinkled like diamonds scattered across an endless black canvas. For centuries, humanity had looked up at the night sky with wonder, dreaming of what lay beyond their small blue planet. They had built ships to explore, sent probes into deep space, and even colonized other worlds. But all of that changed one fateful day when something appeared on the edge of human territory, something that made every heart in the galaxy skip a beat. It began as a faint blip on long-range scanners, barely noticeable amidst the cosmic noise. At first, scientists dismissed it as interference or perhaps a rogue comet drifting through the void. But soon, more readings came in from different sectors of space. The signals were too organized, too deliberate to be natural. Word spread quickly, among astronomers and military officials alike. Something, or someone, was out there, watching. On Earth, Jack Harper sat in his modest living room, staring at the news broadcast playing on the holoscreen mounted against the wall. He was a tall man with broad shoulders, his dark hair streaked with gray. His face bore the marks of years spent serving in the military before he retired to work as an engineer designing spacecraft components. Beside him, Linda, his wife, leaned forward slightly, her hands clasped tightly together. She was smaller than him, with soft features framed by shoulder-length blonde hair. Her green eyes flickered between the screen and Jack's expressionless face. "They say it's a fleet," Linda said softly, breaking the silence. "An entire armada." Jack didn't respond immediately. Instead, he focused on the images flashing across the screen. Computer-generated renderings of massive alien ships hovering ominously near the outer edges of human-controlled space. Each vessel dwarfed anything humanity had ever constructed, their sleek designs radiating an aura of cold efficiency. Reporters spoke in hushed tones, speculating about the intentions of these unknown visitors. Were they explorers, traders, or conquerors? "It doesn't matter what they are," Jack finally muttered, his voice low but firm. "What matters is why they're here." Linda sighed, leaning back into the couch. "Do you think they'll attack?" "I don't know." Jack shook his head slowly. "But if they do, we're not ready." His words hung heavy in the air, casting a shadow over the cozy room. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. It should have been a peaceful evening, but instead tension crackled like static electricity. Across the globe, billions of people shared the same uneasy feeling. No one knew what tomorrow might bring. High above Earth, aboard the orbital research station Elysium, Emily Dawson stood in front of a bank of monitors, her fingers flying over holographic keyboards. She was younger than Jack, barely in her late 20s, with short brown hair and sharp hazel eyes that seemed perpetually focused. As an astrophysicist, she had dedicated her life to studying the mysteries of the universe. Now, those mysteries had taken on a terrifying new dimension. "Anything?" asked Dr. Rachel Kim, her mentor and fellow scientist, standing nearby. Rachel was older, with graying temples and glasses perched on the bridge of her nose. Despite her age, she exuded an air of calm authority. Emily hesitated, scrolling through streams of data pouring in from telescopes and satellites. "Not yet," she replied. "But whatever those ships are emitting, it's definitely artificial. Look at this pattern. It's almost like a language." Rachel stepped closer, peering at the screen. Sure enough, the signal displayed intricate sequences of pulses and wavelengths unlike anything they'd encountered before. It wasn't random noise. It carried structure, meaning. Someone, or something, was trying to communicate. "Have you tried decoding it?" Rachel asked. "I've run it through several algorithms," Emily admitted, "but nothing matches any known encryption methods. Whoever created this, they're way ahead of us." As the two women worked tirelessly to unravel the mystery, events unfolded rapidly back on Earth. World leaders convened emergency sessions, debating how best to respond to the looming threat. Some called for immediate mobilization of military forces, while others urged caution, fearing that aggression might provoke hostility. News outlets buzzed with conflicting reports, fueling both fear and speculation. Among the chaos, Jack received a call from Senator Alan Carter, a prominent figure in the government who had served alongside him during his time in the Marines. The senator wasted no time exchanging pleasantries. "Jack," Carter said, his voice grave, "we need your help." Jack frowned, gripping the phone tightly. "With what?" "There's talk of setting up a task force to analyze alien technology, recovered from past encounters," Carter explained. "We believe it could hold the key to defending ourselves if things escalate. Your experience makes you invaluable to this effort." For a moment, Jack considered refusing. He had left the military behind years ago, hoping to live a quieter life, but the thought of sitting idly by while the world faced potential catastrophe gnawed at him. Finally, he nodded. "I'm in," he said simply. Meanwhile, Emily continued her work, driven by a mix of curiosity and dread. Late into the night, she noticed something peculiar about the alien transmissions. Buried within the complex patterns were fragments of information. Not just random symbols, but coordinates pointing to specific locations in space. One set of numbers caught her attention, a region far beyond human reach, shrouded in darkness and mystery. "Rachel," she whispered urgently, pulling up the data. "Look at this." Rachel joined her, scanning the results. Her brow furrowed as realization dawned. "These aren't just messages," she murmured. "They're instructions." "What kind of instructions?" Emily asked, though deep down, she already suspected the answer. Rachel hesitated before replying. "Instructions for invasion." Back on Earth, Jack prepared to leave for Washington, D.C., where the task force would convene. Linda walked him to the door, her lips pressed into a thin line. "Be careful," she said, her voice trembling slightly. Jack pulled her into a tight embrace. "I will," he promised. "No matter what happens, I'll come back to you." As he drove away, the weight of the situation settled heavily upon him. Humanity stood on the brink of something unprecedented, a confrontation with forces vastly superior to anything they had ever faced. Yet despite the fear gnawing at his gut, Jack couldn't shake the stubborn resolve burning within him. If the galaxy watched in fear, then humanity would choose to fight. And so, as the alien fleet lingered ominously at the edge of human space, the stage was set for a battle that would determine the fate of countless worlds. Little did anyone know, the true challenge lay not only in facing the invaders, but also in uncovering the secrets hidden within their cryptic signals, and preparing for the unimaginable consequences that awaited them. The next morning, Earth awoke to an announcement that would change everything. The alien fleet, now identified as the Vrin, had broken its silence. Their message came not as a gentle greeting or an offer of peace, but as a cold, calculated ultimatum. Through every communication channel available to humanity, radio waves, digital networks, even primitive television broadcasts, their voice boomed across the planet. "Surrender," the transmission began, the words delivered in flawless English, though the tone was mechanical and devoid of emotion. "You are weak. You are insignificant. Resistance is futile. Submit to our rule, or face annihilation." For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Streets emptied as people gathered around screens, listening intently to the chilling declaration. In homes, offices, and public squares, shock gave way to fear, then anger. The Vrin's message left no room for negotiation. It was a demand, pure and simple. Humanity had two choices: kneel or die. Jack Harper arrived at the government facility in Washington, D.C., his mind racing with thoughts of the broadcast. The building buzzed with activity as officials scrambled to respond to the crisis. Inside the conference room, Senator Alan Carter stood at the head of a long table, addressing a group of scientists, engineers, and military personnel. Jack took a seat near the back, observing the tense expressions on everyone's faces. "We need to decide how to proceed," Carter said, his voice firm but laced with urgency. "Do we comply, or do we prepare to defend ourselves?" Opinions were divided. Some argued that surrender was the only logical option. The Vrin's technology far surpassed anything humanity possessed, and their numbers suggested they could crush Earth's defenses with ease. Others, however, refused to accept defeat without a fight. Among them was General Patricia Lewis, a grizzled veteran with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "If we give up now, we lose everything," Lewis declared, slamming her fist on the table for emphasis. "Our freedom, our dignity, our future, all gone. Is that what we want to tell our children? That we rolled over because someone told us to?" Her words ignited a spark of defiance in the room, but doubt still lingered. Could humanity truly stand against such overwhelming odds? Jack listened silently, weighing the arguments. He had seen war before, both as a soldier and as an engineer designing weapons. He knew the cost of conflict, the lives lost, the scars left behind. Yet he also knew the alternative: living under the heel of an oppressor, stripped of autonomy and hope. As the debate raged on, Emily Dawson sat alone in her lab aboard the Elysium, replaying the Vrin's message over and over again. Something about it didn't sit right with her. The language was perfect, almost too precise, as if crafted by machines rather than living beings. Even the timing of the broadcast felt deliberate, as though it followed a script programmed long ago. "What are you hiding?" she whispered to herself, staring at the screen. Determined to uncover more, Emily ran additional analyses on the signal. She cross-referenced it with previous transmissions intercepted from other parts of the galaxy, looking for patterns or anomalies. Hours passed, and just when exhaustion threatened to overwhelm her, she found something intriguing. Buried within the layers of data was a faint trace of another signal, a secondary frequency overlapping the main broadcast. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but unmistakably present. Excited, Emily called Dr. Rachel Kim to share her discovery. Together, they isolated the hidden signal and began decoding it. What they uncovered sent chills down their spines. The secondary transmission contained fragments of coordinates, not random locations but specific points within human-controlled space. Each set corresponded to key strategic targets: military bases, resource-rich planets, and vital trade routes. "They're mapping us," Rachel said, her voice tinged with alarm. "Planning their moves." Emily nodded grimly. "And they've been doing it for a while. These coordinates match incidents we dismissed as accidents or natural phenomena. Blackouts, equipment failures, unexplained disappearances. It wasn't coincidence. They've been probing us, testing our weaknesses." The implications were staggering. If the Vrin already knew so much about humanity's vulnerabilities, any attempt at resistance would be exponentially harder, but Emily refused to let despair take hold. Instead, she focused on finding a solution, poring over the data for anything that might give humanity an edge. Back on Earth, Jack joined a smaller meeting with Senator Carter and a select group of experts tasked with reverse engineering alien technology. The room was cluttered with artifacts salvaged from past encounters with extraterrestrial races, pieces of crashed ships, strange devices, and fragments of unknown materials. Most of all, it remained a mystery, defying conventional understanding. "This is our best shot," Carter said, gesturing to the collection of items. "If we can figure out how their tech works, maybe we can level the playing field." Jack examined one of the objects closely, a small metallic sphere etched with intricate patterns. It hummed faintly, emitting a low vibration that resonated in his palm. Despite years of study, scientists had yet to unlock its secrets. Frustrated but undeterred, Jack turned to the others in the room. "We'll need help," he said. "People who think outside the box. Hackers, inventors, anyone willing to try unconventional methods." Carter nodded in agreement. "Start assembling a team. Time isn't on our side." Over the next few days, Jack reached out to individuals known for their ingenuity and resourcefulness. One of them was Marcus Mac Sullivan, a former pilot with a reputation for reckless bravery. Mac had spent years flying missions in dangerous regions, earning both admiration and criticism for his daring tactics. When Jack contacted him, Mac didn't hesitate to join the cause. "You had me at aliens," Mac said with a grin. his cocky demeanor masking the seriousness of the situation. "Just tell me where to sign up." Another recruit was Claire Bennett, a young hacker whose skills rivaled those of the most advanced AI systems. Claire had grown up in the shadowy corners of cyberspace, breaking into secure networks for fun, before turning her talents toward ethical hacking. Her ability to bypass even the tightest security protocols made her an invaluable asset. With his team beginning to take shape, Jack allowed himself a brief moment of optimism. They were far from ready, but at least they had a starting point. Still, the enormity of the task weighed heavily on him. Every decision felt like walking a tightrope, balancing between hope and reality. Meanwhile, Linda stayed home, trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy despite the chaos unfolding around her. She kept busy tending to their garden, cooking meals, and checking news updates obsessively. Though she supported Jack's efforts, she couldn't shake the gnawing worry that consumed her whenever she thought about the risks he was taking. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, she confronted him about it. "What happens if this doesn't work?" she asked, her voice trembling. What if you don't come back?" Jack paused, setting aside the tablet he had been reviewing. He crossed the room and knelt beside her, taking her hands in his. "I don't know," he admitted honestly, "but I can't sit here and do nothing. Not when there's even a chance we can make a difference." Linda looked into his eyes, searching for reassurance. "Promise me you'll be careful." "I promise," he said softly, pulling her into a hug. "No matter what happens, I'll always fight for us. For you. For everyone." As the days turned into weeks, humanity braced itself for what lay ahead. Protests erupted in cities worldwide, with crowds chanting slogans ranging from pleas for peace to calls for resistance. Governments debated strategies, torn between diplomacy and defense. And high above Earth, Emily and Rachel continued their work, driven by the belief that knowledge was humanity's greatest weapon. Though the galaxy watched in fear, humanity chose to fight. Not because they believed victory was guaranteed, but because surrender was unthinkable. For Jack, Emily, and countless others, the battle had only just begun. The days that followed the Vryn's ultimatum were a blur of activity and tension. Across Earth and its colonies, people grappled with the weight of the decision before them. Some argued for immediate surrender, convinced that resistance would only lead to destruction. Others, fueled by anger and pride, called for humanity to stand its ground no matter the cost. The divide grew deeper with each passing hour, threatening to fracture society itself. Jack Harper spent most of his time at the government facility, working tirelessly with his newly assembled team. Marcus Mac Sullivan quickly proved himself indispensable, his sharp instincts and quick thinking helping solve problems others deemed unsolvable. Claire Bennett, on the other hand, immersed herself in the alien artifacts, her fingers flying over holographic interfaces as she probed their secrets. Together they formed an unlikely trio, united by a shared determination to protect humanity. Despite their progress, frustration mounted. The alien technology resisted every attempt to decipher it. Devices that should have powered up remained inert, their inner workings impenetrable. Jack often found himself pacing the lab late into the night, his mind racing with questions. What made the Vryn's tech so advanced? How could humanity hope to compete against such overwhelming superiority? One evening, as the rest of the team took a much-needed break, Jack sat alone at a workstation staring at the metallic sphere he had examined earlier. It still hummed faintly, its surface cool to the touch. He turned it over in his hands, studying the intricate patterns etched into its shell. Something about it felt alive, as if it were waiting for the right moment to reveal its purpose. "Still playing with that thing?" Mac asked, leaning against the doorway with a smirk. His casual tone masked the exhaustion etched into his face. "It's not just a thing," Jack replied, his voice low but firm. "It's a puzzle, and puzzles can be solved." Mac raised an eyebrow. "You really think this hunk of metal is going to save us?" "I don't know," Jack admitted. "But we've got to start somewhere." At that moment, Claire entered the room, her expression unusually animated. "Guys, you need to see this," she said, motioning for them to follow her. She led them to another workstation where a holographic display hovered above the desk. On it was a string of symbols, alien script decoded from one of the artifacts. "What am I looking at?" Jack asked, squinting at the glowing characters. "This," Claire explained, pointing to a sequence of symbols, "isn't random. It's a command structure, a set of instructions." Mac frowned. "Instructions for what?" "For activating something," Claire replied. "I think it's tied to the sphere." Jack's eyes widened. "Are you saying you can turn it on?" "I'm saying I can try," Claire corrected him. "But I'll need your help. There are variables here I've never seen before." Without hesitation, the three of them got to work. Claire guided them through the process, feeding data into the system, while Jack and Mac manipulated the sphere, aligning its patterns with the decoded instructions. Hours passed, and just when they thought they might fail, the sphere emitted a soft glow. Its hum grew louder, vibrating through the room like a heartbeat. Then, without warning, it split open. Inside was a core, a pulsating crystalline structure that radiated energy. The team stared in awe, their exhaustion momentarily forgotten. "What is that?" Mac whispered, his usual bravado replaced by genuine wonder. "I don't know," Jack admitted, his voice filled with both excitement and apprehension. "But it's powerful if we can figure out how to harness it." Before he could finish, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed, and a robotic voice announced a security breach. Jack's heart sank as he realized what was happening. Someone, or something, had infiltrated the building. "Stay here and secure the sphere," Jack ordered, grabbing a nearby weapon. "I'll check it out." "No way," Mac shot back, already reaching for his own gun. "You're not going alone." Claire hesitated, torn between staying with the artifact and joining the others. Finally, she nodded. "Be careful, Jack." And Mac moved swiftly through the corridors, their footsteps echoing in the tense silence. The facility was eerily quiet, the usual bustle of activity replaced by an oppressive stillness. As they approached the source of the breach, they spotted movement, a shadow darting around a corner. "Hold it!" Jack shouted, raising his weapon. The figure froze, then slowly stepped into view. To their surprise, it wasn't an enemy but a young man, his face pale and streaked with sweat. His clothes were disheveled, and he clutched a small device in trembling hands. "Who are you?" Jack demanded, lowering his weapon slightly. "My name's Ryan," the man stammered. I didn't mean to cause trouble, I just needed to get inside." "Why?" Mac asked, stepping forward cautiously. Ryan glanced nervously at the device in his hand. "This is a prototype, a jamming device. I heard about the Vrin's ultimatum and I thought, maybe I could help." Jack exchanged a glance with Mac, unsure whether to trust the stranger. But desperation drove them to take a chance. "What does it do?" Jack asked. "It disrupts communication signals," Ryan explained. "If the Vrin are controlling their fleet remotely, this could sever their connection, at least temporarily." Jack's mind raced. If Ryan's invention worked, it could buy humanity precious time to prepare for the inevitable attack. "All right," he said finally. "Let's test it." Back in the lab, Claire greeted Ryan with cautious curiosity. Together, they integrated the jamming device into their existing systems, using the alien sphere's energy to amplify its range. The process was painstaking, requiring precise calculations and constant adjustments. When they finally activated it, the results exceeded their expectations. For a brief moment, all external communications within the facility went dark, including the faint signal emanating from the Vrin fleet. "We did it," Claire breathed, her eyes shining with triumph. But their celebration was short-lived. Moments later, the facility's main screen flickered to life, displaying a live feed from space. The Vrin fleet had begun moving, advancing steadily toward human territory. Their timing couldn't have been more ominous. "They're coming," Jack muttered, his jaw tightening. "And they're not wasting any time." High above Earth, Emily Dawson and Dr. Rachel Kim watched the same footage aboard the Elysium. Their earlier discovery, the hidden coordinates embedded in the Vrin's transmission, had revealed a grim truth. The aliens weren't just mapping humanity's defenses. They were planning a coordinated assault. Each target marked on their map corresponded to a critical location, designed to cripple humanity's ability to resist. "We need to warn them," Emily said urgently, turning to Rachel. "If we can predict their next move, maybe we can stop it." Rachel nodded. "Send the data to Earth immediately. Every second counts." As Emily transmitted the information, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. The Vrin's movements were methodical, almost mechanical, as if following a predetermined plan. They weren't acting out of emotion or ambition. They were executing orders. Back on Earth, Senator Alan Carter convened an emergency session upon receiving Emily's report. The mood in the room was grim as military leaders and scientists reviewed the intel. General Patricia Lewis studied the map intently, her brow furrowed in concentration. "They're hitting us where it hurts," she said finally. "Colonies, supply lines, communication hubs, they want to isolate us, cut us off from each other." "And once they do that," Carter added, his voice heavy with dread, "they'll pick us apart piece by piece." Jack listened silently, his mind racing. He knew the senator was right. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its unity, its ability to come together in the face of adversity. If the Vrin succeeded in dividing them, resistance would become nearly impossible. "We need to hit them first," Jack said suddenly, drawing everyone's attention. "Before they reach our borders. Strike hard, strike fast, and send a message. We won't go down without a fight." The room fell silent as his words sank in. It was a bold and risky plan. Attacking the Vrin fleet directly would leave Earth vulnerable, exposing its defenses to retaliation. Yet doing nothing guaranteed defeat. Finally, Carter spoke. "Do it," he said firmly. "Gather your team and prepare for launch. We'll provide whatever support we can." With the decision made, Jack returned to the lab to brief his team. Claire, Mac, and Ryan listened intently as he outlined the mission. A preemptive strike against the leading edge of the Vrin fleet. Using the alien sphere's energy as a power source, they would retrofit one of Earth's fastest ships with experimental weapons and engage the enemy head-on. "You realize this is suicide, right?" Mac joked, though his tone lacked its usual bravado. "Maybe," Jack admitted. "But if we succeed, we might just buy humanity a fighting chance." Claire nodded resolutely. "Then let's make it count." As the team prepared for departure, Linda called Jack, her voice trembling with concern. "I heard about the mission," she said softly. "Please tell me you're not going." "I have to," Jack replied, his heart aching at the pain in her voice. "This is bigger than me, bigger than us. If we don't stop them now, there won't be a future for anyone." Linda was silent for a long moment before speaking again. "Just promise me one thing." "Anything," Jack said. "Come back to me." Her words echoed in his mind as he boarded the ship, surrounded by his team. The vessel roared to life, its engines humming with borrowed alien energy. The journey into the void was anything but quiet. Jack Harper sat in the cockpit of the retrofitted ship, his hands gripping the controls as he guided the vessel through the darkness of space. Beside him, Marcus Mac Sullivan monitored the navigation systems, his sharp eyes scanning for any signs of trouble. Behind them, Claire Bennett and Ryan worked tirelessly to ensure the experimental weapons were functioning properly. The hum of the alien sphere's energy filled the cabin, a constant reminder of the power and danger they carried with them. For hours, they traveled in silence, broken only by the occasional update from Earth. Senator Alan Carter's voice crackled over the comms, offering words of encouragement and updates on the Vrin fleet's movements. The aliens were advancing steadily, their course unchanging. It was as if they had no fear of resistance, confident in their superiority. "Do you think they even know we're coming?" Mac asked, breaking the quiet. "They'll know soon enough," Jack replied, his tone steady despite the tension in the air. "Once we fire the first shot, there won't be any turning back." Claire leaned forward from her seat, her expression serious. We should run another diagnostic on the weapons. I don't want anything failing when we need it most. Ryan nodded in agreement. I'll double-check the energy flow from the sphere. If it spikes during combat, we could lose control. As they worked, Jack couldn't help but reflect on the weight of their mission. They were a small team, armed with hastily assembled technology, heading straight into the jaws of an enemy that had already declared humanity's doom. Yet, despite the odds, he felt a strange sense of resolve. This wasn't just about survival. It was about proving that humanity wouldn't go quietly into the night. Hours turned into days, and the Vryn fleet grew closer on their scanners. The massive ships loomed like shadows against the stars, their sleek designs both beautiful and terrifying. Each vessel was larger than anything humanity had ever constructed, bristling with weapons and glowing with an eerie light. It was clear that the Vryn weren't just invaders. They were conquerors, accustomed to crushing resistance wherever they went. Finally, the moment arrived. The team approached the edge of the fleet, where smaller scout ships patrolled the perimeter. Jack slowed the vessel, bringing it to a stop just outside sensor range. He turned to his crew, his voice calm but firm. This is it, he said. Remember, the plan. Hit hard, hit fast, and get out before they can respond. Mac grinned, though there was no humor in it. Let's show these bastards what humans are made of. Claire took a deep breath, her fingers hovering over the weapon controls. Ready when you are. Jack gave the order, and the ship surged forward, its engines roaring as they closed the distance to the nearest scout. The element of surprise was their only advantage, and they intended to use it fully. As they drew within range, Claire fired the first shot, a bolt of energy powered by the alien sphere. The blast struck the scout ship dead center, tearing through its hull like paper. The explosion lit up the darkness, sending debris spiraling into space. Yes, Max shouted, pumping his fist. That's how we do it. But their victory was short-lived. Alarms blared as other scout ships turned toward them, their weapons charging. Jack maneuvered the ship into a tight spiral, dodging incoming fire while Claire returned shots with precision. The battle was chaotic, a blur of lights and explosions as the two sides clashed in the void. Shields are holding, but barely, Ryan called out, his voice strained. If we take too many hits, we're done for. Keep us moving, Jack ordered, his focus razor-sharp. Claire, target their engines, disable them, don't destroy them. Claire nodded, adjusting her aim. One by one, the scout ships fell, victim to her relentless barrage, their engines disabled and leaving them adrift. The team worked in perfect harmony, each member playing their part without hesitation. Even Mac, who had spent most of his life flying solo, seemed to thrive in the chaos, his instincts guiding the ship through the storm of enemy fire. As the last scout ship exploded in a burst of light, the team allowed themselves a brief moment of triumph. But their celebration was interrupted by a sudden transmission, a cold mechanical voice echoing through the ship. You dare challenge us? The voice demanded, devoid of emotion. You are nothing. You will be erased. Jack clenched his jaw, his grip tightening on the controls. They know we're here, he said grimly. Time to move. The team didn't need further prompting. Jack pushed the ship to its limits, weaving through the wreckage of the destroyed scouts as larger Vryn vessels began to turn their attention toward them. Their small craft was no match for the behemoths, and staying in range for even a second longer would mean certain death. Claire, fire everything we've got at that cruiser, Jack ordered, pointing to one of the larger ships looming ahead. We might not take it down, but we can slow it down. Claire complied, unleashing a barrage of energy blast at the cruiser's underbelly. The shot struck true, causing visible damage to the ship's outer plating. Though it wasn't enough to disable the vessel completely, it forced the Vryn to divert resources to repairs, buying precious time for humanity's defenses. With the cruiser temporarily neutralized, Jack set a course for Earth, pushing the ship to maximum speed. Behind them, the Vryn fleet regrouped, their movements deliberate and calculated. It was clear that the skirmish had only delayed the inevitable. The full force of the invasion was still coming. Back aboard the Elysium, Emily Dawson and Dr. Rachel Kim watched the battle unfold through long-range sensors. Their hearts raced as they tracked the team's progress, cheering silently each time a Vryn ship was disabled. But their relief was tempered by the knowledge that the fight was far from over. "They've done it," Emily whispered, her voice filled with awe. "They actually did it." "For now," Rachel cautioned, her expression grim. "But the Vryn won't stop. They'll see this as an act of defiance, and they'll respond with overwhelming force." Emily nodded, her mind racing. She knew the next step was crucial. Humanity needed more than just courage to win this war. They needed answers, and those answers lay hidden within the Vryn's transmissions. "We need to keep decoding," Emily said firmly. "There's something in those signals we're missing, something big." Rachel placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Then let's find it. Together." Meanwhile on Earth, Linda Harper paced anxiously in her living room, watching news reports of the battle. The media had picked up on the skirmish, speculating wildly about the mysterious ship that had attacked the Vryn fleet. Some hailed it as a turning point, proof that humanity could stand against the invaders. Others warned that retaliation was inevitable, and the cost would be catastrophic. Linda prayed silently for Jack's safe return, clutching a photo of him tightly in her hands. She wanted to believe in his strength, in his ability to overcome even the greatest odds. But the uncertainty gnawed at her, filling her with dread. Hours later, the ship finally re-entered Earth's atmosphere, its battered frame a testament to the fierce battle it had endured. Jack and his team disembarked to a hero's welcome, greeted by cheering crowds and grateful officials. Senator Alan Carter stepped forward, shaking Jack's hand firmly. "You've given us hope," Carter said, his voice thick with emotion. "Now we need to prepare for what comes next." Jack nodded, his expression grim. "This isn't over, not by a long shot." As the team dispersed to rest and regroup, Jack found a quiet moment alone. He gazed up at the sky, the vast expanse of stars reminding him of the enormity of the task ahead. Humanity had struck the first blow, but the real fight was yet to come. And though the galaxy watched in fear, Jack knew one thing for certain: humanity would continue to choose to fight. No matter the cost. The victory against the Vryn scouts was small but significant. For the first time, humanity had proven that the invaders could be hurt. News of the successful strike spread like wildfire, igniting a spark of hope across Earth and its colonies. People who had once cowered in fear now stood tall, their spirits buoyed by the knowledge that resistance wasn't futile. The streets buzzed with renewed energy as citizens rallied behind the heroes who had dared to challenge the Vryn. Jack Harper and his team became symbols of defiance overnight. Their faces appeared on holoscreens worldwide, accompanied by stories of their daring mission. Journalists dubbed them the Vanguard, a name that stuck almost immediately. Yet despite the adulation, Jack felt no sense of triumph. He knew all too well that the skirmish had only scratched the surface. The Vryn fleet remained intact, and its true power was still unknown. Back at the government facility, the team gathered for a debriefing session with Senator Alan Carter and General Patricia Lewis. The room was filled with a mix of pride and urgency as officials reviewed the battle footage and analyzed the damage inflicted on the Vryn ships. "We've bought ourselves some time," General Lewis said, her tone measured. "But they'll come back stronger. And next time they won't underestimate us." Jack nodded grimly. "They'll regroup and adapt. We hit them hard this time, but it won't happen again unless we stay one step ahead." Carter leaned forward, his expression serious. "Then tell me what we need to do. Resources, personnel, whatever you require, you'll have it." Claire raised her hand slightly, drawing everyone's attention. "We need better intel. If we're going to keep fighting, we need to understand how their ships work, how they communicate, and where their weaknesses lie." Marcus Mack. Sullivan chimed in, his usual cocky demeanor tempered by the gravity of the situation. "And we need more firepower. Those scout ships were tough enough. I can't imagine what those big cruisers are packing." Ryan added quietly, "The jamming device worked for a short while, but it's not enough." We need something that can disrupt their entire fleet, not just parts of it. Jack listened intently, piecing together their thoughts. They were right. The success of their mission had been a combination of surprise, teamwork, and experimental tech. But replicating that success would require more than bravery. It would demand innovation, strategy, and preparation. "All right," Jack said finally, standing up to address the group. "Here's the plan. Claire and Ryan, focus on upgrading our weapon systems. Mac, help train new pilots. We'll need every capable hand for future missions. As for me, I'll coordinate with Emily and Rachel aboard the Elysium. If anyone can crack the Vrin's secrets, it's them." The team dispersed, each member diving into their assigned tasks with renewed determination. Claire and Ryan buried themselves in the lab, poring over data from the alien sphere and brainstorming ways to enhance their arsenal. Mac took charge of a squadron of rookie pilots, pushing them to their limits with intense simulations designed to mimic combat scenarios. Meanwhile, Jack prepared to head back to the orbital research station, knowing that the key to humanity's survival might lie in the hands of Emily Dawson and Dr. Rachel Kim. High above Earth, Emily and Rachel worked tirelessly to decode the Vrin's transmissions. The cryptic signals continued to pour in, carrying fragments of information that hinted at the aliens' plans. Emily's earlier discovery, that the Vrin were mapping humanity's defenses, had already proven invaluable, allowing Earth's military to reinforce vulnerable locations. But there was still so much they didn't know. What if these coordinates aren't just targets? Emily mused aloud, staring at the glowing map displayed on her workstation. What if they're part of something bigger, like a network? Rachel adjusted her glasses, studying the data carefully. A network? You mean like a communication grid? Exactly, Emily replied, her excitement growing. Think about it. If the Vrin are controlling their fleet remotely, they'd need a way to relay commands across vast distances. That means there has to be a central hub somewhere. A nexus. Rachel's eyes widened as the implications sank in. If we could find that nexus and disable it, we'd sever their connection, Emily finished, her voice trembling with anticipation. Without it, their fleet would be cut off from their leaders. It might even disable their ships entirely. The two women exchanged a glance, both understanding the enormity of their discovery. Finding the nexus wouldn't be easy. It was likely hidden deep within Vrin territory, but it represented humanity's best chance at turning the tide of the war. When Jack arrived aboard the Elysium, he wasted no time getting to work. Emily and Rachel briefed him on their findings, showing him the patterns they had uncovered in the Vrin signals. Jack studied the data closely, his mind racing with possibilities. "This changes everything," he said finally, his voice filled with quiet resolve. "If we can locate the nexus, we might have a shot at ending this before it starts." "But how do we get there?" Emily asked. "Their territory is heavily guarded. Even if we manage to sneak past their patrols, we'll need a ship capable of surviving the journey." Jack nodded thoughtfully. "Leave that to me. In the meantime, keep working on decoding the rest of their transmissions. Every piece of information helps." As Jack returned to Earth, preparations for the next phase of the conflict ramped up. Factories churned out new weapons and equipment, while recruitment drives brought in thousands of volunteers eager to join the fight. Cities transformed into fortresses, their skies patrolled by squadrons of fighter ships ready to repel any attack. Humanity was mobilizing on a scale never seen before, united by a single purpose: survival. But the Vrin weren't idle either. Across the galaxy, their fleet surged forward, advancing toward human-controlled space with terrifying speed. Long-range sensors detected massive formations of ships, their movements synchronized with eerie precision. It was clear that the invaders intended to crush humanity swiftly and decisively, leaving no room for further resistance. The first major test came when the Vrin launched a probing attack on Luna Colony, humanity's largest settlement beyond Earth. The assault began without warning, catching the colony's defenders off guard. Waves of alien fighters descended upon the lunar surface, targeting key installations and supply depots. Explosions lit up the darkened landscape as civilians scrambled for shelter. Back on Earth, News of the attack sent shockwaves through the population. Panic gripped many, but others rose to meet the challenge. Jack and his team sprang into action, boarding their retrofitted ship and racing toward the moon. Alongside them flew dozens of other vessels, manned by newly trained pilots determined to defend their home. The battle above Luna was fierce and chaotic. Alien ships swarmed like insects, their advanced weaponry overwhelming the colony's defenses. But humanity fought back with everything they had, their courage matching the Vrin's cold efficiency. Claire unleashed salvos of energy blasts from the ship's upgraded weapons, tearing through enemy formations with deadly accuracy. Mac performed daring maneuvers, weaving between hostile craft and providing cover for allied ships. Amidst the chaos, Jack spotted a massive cruiser hovering near the edge of the battlefield, directing the attack. Its presence loomed like a shadow, coordinating the movements of smaller ships with ruthless precision. "That's the command vessel," Jack said, pointing to the cruiser. "Take it out, and the rest will fall into disarray." Claire nodded, her fingers flying over the controls. She targeted the cruiser's engines, unleashing a barrage of shots that struck true. The vessel shuddered under the impact, its shields faltering as secondary explosions rocked its hull. Without their leader, the remaining Vrin ships lost cohesion, retreating into the void. Cheers erupted among the human forces as the last of the invaders fled. Though the victory was costly, many lives lost and infrastructure destroyed, it proved that humanity could stand toe-to-toe with the Vrin. The defenders of Luna Colony emerged battered but unbowed, their spirits unbroken. Back on Earth, celebrations broke out as news of the victory spread. For the first time in weeks, people allowed themselves to feel a glimmer of hope. The Vrin weren't invincible. They could bleed and they could retreat, but Jack knew better than to let the triumph lull them into complacency. This was only the beginning. As he stood aboard the ship, gazing at the battered but resilient face of Luna Colony, Jack felt a surge of determination. Humanity had chosen to fight, not because they believed victory was guaranteed, but because surrender was unthinkable. And though the galaxy watched in fear, Jack vowed silently that they would continue to choose to fight, no matter the cost.